Hello, my name is James Graham. I'm from Finglas in Dublin. Um, the middle of 7 children.
What was it like back there in Ireland?
It was a little rough,
Yeah.
growing up in not a very wealthy family, but we made do. Mom did her best, and Dad did his too.
How did you get involved in horse racing?
My career guidance teacher in school, I was disruptive in class. Didn't didn't care for being in school. Was stargazing out the windows. And where I come from in Finglas, there's a lot of loose ponies around the place, and I'd be watching them out in the field from school, and had more interest in them than I had in class. I was in my career guidance teacher every day because not wanting to be in class, and he asked me what did I like, and I told him that I liked horses, and he gave me an application form for the apprentice school.
Tell me about the Racing Apprentice School.
Well, it was a big shock for me coming from just outside the city where you'd have police sirens going off and stuff like that, and going into the dead quiet. Took a while to get used to it, but it was great. Went for a 2-week trial and went back home to mom and dad, and hoped and prayed and prayed and hoped that I got into the apprentice school. It was a way out, you know. It was better than the alternative. Get kicked out of school in second year before you do your junior cert with no qualifications and just go job to job. Very little education. When I came to America, I couldn't even read, and it's a big deal, you know.
What are your best memories from your time at the Racing Apprentice School?
Some of my best memories of the apprentice school was getting to work with John Ox and his team. Such a brilliant man to work for. Went out of his way. I messed up. I wasn't mature enough to take on what was given to me. 15-year-old with a lot of money in his pocket, not very good. So got into a little bit of trouble. Missed work a few times, and a lot of times actually. And he finally had enough and he let me go. Then I went to work for a guy called Pat Martin when I was living at home with my mom. Took off, enjoyed myself, really learned how to enjoy my work when I was working for Pat. Pat Martin did a really good job with me. It didn't matter what we did, Pat was there 100%. I rode my first winner in Ireland actually for Pat. He put me on a filly called Sporn in Nason Apprentice race. I remember that.
How did you get started in America?
I got started in America working for Jeff Thornberry. We went to Chicago for the Breeders' Cup, and myself and my wife Lisa came over together, and we went to Chicago and then to New Orleans, Louisiana for the winter, where they had training races for horses that have never started, which is a great thing. I think they should never have done away with it, but no, it was great. And I galloped for about maybe not quite a year, about 7 or 8 months, learned the American way and took out a jock's license.
Coming from Ireland, did you have any difficulty becoming established as a jockey in America?
Yeah, starting off, but the one good thing that I had going for me is that work was easy. As I said, working for Pat showed me that it's easier. You can really enjoy your job if you like what you're doing. And I was a little bit older then. I was 22 when I came to this country, so I finally had to hit home what I wanted to do. And I was a little late getting started, but I've made up for it, I think.
Can you think of one race or one horse that stands out as a launch pad for your American career?
I don't know if there's one horse, but you know, it's I have a couple of favourites, like every rider has. You can't compare them. From a $5,000 horse that I win a couple of races on at the fairgrounds when I first started, to a couple of Grade 1 winners. They're all my favourite. They helped me to put me in this position.
Do you have any idea how many winners you have in America? How many times have you won?
22, 2100 and odd. I got started my first year, my first 6 months as an apprentice in this country. I went 16 races, and then I hooked up with a guy called Britt McGeehee, who has sadly passed away this year. He was my agent, and we'd been together from after the first 6 months, but we won over 2,000 races together. He was brilliant. He was a guy. He pulled for me. He worked for me. He went to bat for me, and a lot of it's come down to him. And as me and him being a team, finding the right horses for me to ride. But no, he's sadly missed. Loved him to death. He was family, you know. I wasn't one thing. It's just a combination of it, always building for better for further down the line, which, you know, we all have to try and go that little extra mile, and he did, you know. It's great. The success in this country is been awesome. It brilliant. Can't put it into words. It's just, you know, just that feeling you get when you work, everything clicks right, and with that guy it clicked right, and it was because of him, I think.
Is there any one race in particular that you really want to win?
There's one race that stands out that I really like to win in this country, which is the Arlington Million. It's a very prestigious race. It's on the grass, of course, but it's just because of Arlington's race that it's one of the best races in the country for all the horses, and Ireland has been very successful in. And I've rode in it a couple of times, and I think the closest I finished was 5th, so it's not a bad start. But it's one of those races I'd love to ride and win.
If you were starting out again, is there anything you would do differently?
I don't think I'd change anything. You have to learn by your mistakes, right? I made a lot of them, like everyone else. But when you start out, I would like to be a little better polished before I started. But taking a transition from riding European style to American style is hard enough in itself. Everything's a lot quicker over here, and for somebody who's learning, I should have galloped for probably another 6 months before I took out my license and worked a lot more horses.
If you could improve one thing about racing, what would it be?
To improve racing, you can't really ask to improve it. I think it's one of the best businesses in the world. Like nearly every country in the whole world has horse racing in it, whether it be thoroughbreds, standardbreds, pacing, Shetland pony racing. It don't matter.
How do you relax outside of racing?
I don't really relax. I'm very wired. Racing is running constantly. My body, I'm so wound up all the time. I'm like a can of Coke. When I get to go on vacation, it's 3 days, rest a little bit, and then I want to get back to work. I don't like being idle. Devil's hands. Get to thinking too much.
Now, what advice would you give to anybody else who aspires to be a jockey?
The advice, the guy who helped mentor me in the room was a three-time winning Kentucky Derby jockey, Calvin Burrell, who is now retired. He told me that, man, you remind me of you. And when I started out, all I wanted to do was get on horses. It didn't matter. I just wanted to get on horses and I wanted to ride.
And that's the advice that you would give to...
Get out and work. Get out and work. Show up every day with a smile on your face. When it's going bad, work even harder. When it's going good, work even harder again. So, hard work pays off.
Is there anybody back home that you'd like to thank or say hello to?
Dad, Maria, Gary, Paul, Terry. Jeanette, family, Pat Martin, and John Ox. I love my family and I love my race. Being on a horse, it's very exhilarating for me. It shows where my hard work has gone, you know. It's absolutely, I wouldn't change it for the world.